Call on Government Order of the Day number 2.
Taxation, Annual Rates, Employee Allowances and Remedial Matters Bill, second reading.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister Todd McClay.
Mr Speaker, thank you. I move that the Taxation, Annual Rates, Employee Allowances and Remedial Matters Bill be now read a second time. This omnibus bill continues the government's work to bring greater clarity to tax rules to ensure they remain fit for purpose, are easy for businesses and other taxpayers to understand and for them to comply with, that they support businesses and innovation, and that everyone pays their fair share of tax. With those principles in mind, Mr Speaker, the majority of the proposals in this bill have been shaped from earlier feedback from businesses and other taxpayers to ensure that the proposed changes are practical, pragmatic and consistent across the tax system. The main features in this bill seek to clarify the tax treatment of employer-provided accommodation allowances and other payments provided by employers to employees to reimburse them for expenditure incurred. The bill provides practical rules to help determine where to draw the line between what is taxable and what is not. This has been an area of particular concern for employers and employees, particularly when payments are linked to business travel, secondments and projects. To deal with these concerns, the bill proposes that accommodation and accommodation payments provided to employees who are required to work away from their normal workplace on secondment or capital projects will be exempt from income tax under defined circumstances. This includes an exemption for up to 5 years for people working on the Canterbury earthquake recovery projects. An exemption is also included for payments for meals on work-related travel for up to 3 months. There is a specific exemption proposed for distinctive work clothing and an exemption for plain clothes allowances when a person has been provided with a uniform as part of their employment, but because of the nature of their current duties, they're required to also wear plain clothes. Together, these measures should give businesses more clarity and certainty on how the employee allowances provisions should be applied. The second group of proposals, Mr Speaker, in this bill will help support business growth and innovation by clarifying certain rules and removing distortions in the way some current rules apply. The first of these deal with the uncertainty and distortions arising from the current black hole tax treatment of certain types of expenditure. Under the changes proposed in the bill, the deductibility of certain company-running costs will be clarified, and expenditure on abandoned applications for patents, resource consents and plant variety rights will be immediately deductible. A suite of clarifications are also proposed to the GST rules to make them easier to understand and to apply. These include clarifying the definitions of dwelling and commercial dwellings in the Goods and Services Tax Act 1985, an amendment to the apportionment rules so non-profit bodies can claim all of their GST input deductions apart from those on inputs that relate to the making of exempt supplies, and clarifying the GST treatment of immigration and other services. The acquisition date of land and agreements for the sale and purchase of property or services in the foreign currencies have also been clarified to give greater certainty to taxpayers, as have the tax rules for charities which have been removed from the register of charitable entities. Other proposals in the bill, such as changes to tighten the thin capitalisation rules and the rules relating to the tax treatment of land-related lease payments, are intended to remove distortions and protect New Zealand's tax base. One aspect of the bill has attracted attention. As you are aware, Mr Speaker, an intergovernmental agreement is currently being negotiated between New Zealand and the United States in readiness for changes following the enactment of the United States Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, due to take effect on the 1st of July of this year. This bill therefore contains provisions to allow our financial institutions to more easily comply with that intergovernmental agreement once it has been finalised, and any future similar agreements. Mr Speaker, these are the main proposals in the bill. In addition, I wish to advise that I shall be... Listen, I'll come to that in a moment if you listen carefully. In addition, I wish to advise that I shall introduce a supplementary order paper at the Committee of the Whole House stage, which will contain a small number of minor technical amendments to ensure that tax rules operate as intended. At this point, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the Finance and Expenditure Committee for its careful consideration of these wide-ranging tax changes in the bill and for the recommendations they made to further enhance the legislation. It gives me great pleasure to commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member, Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Speaker.